the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Indiana Basketball Weekly Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Make sure you go to thegruelingtruth.net, click on the MyBookie.ag banner, and if you bet on the Hoosiers today, you did pretty good. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now, my co-host, who is a member, and he reminds us of this every show if you listen every time we do it, is a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame and a member of the 1981 National Championship team. Help me welcome to the show the immortal Steve Risley.
Immortal is stretching it just a little bit, but we'll take the other two. How you doing today, Mike?
You got to make up your mind either way. I mean, come on. You bitch either way.
I can't. It's like my wife. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't.
Well, Steve,
you like my hair? Why are you asking me? There's no right answer to any of these.
Steve, nobody wants to hear about your hair right now because Archie Miller.
Not my hair. It's a question I get. It's a question I get from my wife all the time.
Archie Miller.
No right or wrong way.
Gets his first signature win as the Indiana basketball coach today with a come-from-behind 80-77 win. Juwan Morgan and Zach McRoberts, I think, were the stars of the day. Morgan scored 34 points, 11 rebounds. McRoberts had the play of the game where he rebound. Morgan's miss on the free throw, gives it to him on the drive to the basket. Indiana wins the game 80-77. This is what we've been waiting on, Steve.
It sure is. I mean, what we saw was just a sustained effort across the board. Still a lot of things to work on, but I don't want to take away from this win. The thing that impressed me most was being down most all the second half and grinding out, being gritty about it, staying with it, and never losing control, despite what I still would say is less than stellar performance from our guards. There's a couple things here. Early in the game and all throughout the game, what I started to see was really much better effort defensively from this ball club. I actually saw a couple plays that I can think of right there where Hartman came over and actually helped Morgan on a double team, looking to make double teams on Notre Dame, getting people into out of position in trouble. And then even one time, one of the fouls Newkirk got was when he was dropped down from the guard position, came down to help Morgan again in the paint. And when you can shut players down in the post, you pretty much can control the tempo of the game. You can dictate what the outcome is going to be a lot easier than if you just let guys roam and play freely in the paint. So we took a step forward defensively big time, and I think that's why we got the win, as well as some players stepping up and making contributions that we maybe didn't expect from, being like a McRoberts or something like that. The other part where I still think we're lacking a little bit in, but I think you're going to touch on this, I'm going to let you do it, was leadership. But I think we established a leader today. And I'm going to let you go ahead and tell me what you think, who our new leader is probably going to be in this ball club and what we're going to get out of him.
Well, I think there's no doubt your leader's Morgan. I mean, every time it seemed like the Hoosiers were in trouble, he made a big play. I think he scored the last 10 points of the second half. I think he got the first bucket of the overtime. The kid played phenomenal. And then you've got role players now. We've talked about this before. We've talked about your old Hoosier teams with, you had Jimmy Thomas on the 81 team. 87, you had a guy like Steve Ild, even Joe Hillman, guys that come in. And when you look at McRoberts on the stat sheet, he scored 1 point. But when you look at it, he had 9 rebounds, and I think that the rebound he had off Morgan's missed free throw was the play of the game, Steve.
Just to have the presence and wherewithal to find Morgan blasting to the hole. Just to see that alone, let alone just get the rebound, then to find Morgan wide open basically for an easy dunk that just changes the whole makeup of that game in a matter of seconds. And that's always been the legend and the lore of Indiana basketball, has been the players that come in and make key contributions whenever they need to. And certainly Zach cemented himself right now as being somebody who's now contributed in that way to an IU basketball game of a big win. If you want to call it a signature win, that's fine. It is the biggest one we've had, obviously. But I'm very happy for Zach. It's a great play. Happy for the entire team. I think everybody that came into the game stepped up and made some plays. Despite still being somewhat non-existent, Johnson comes through with 20 key points for us. Still, like to see more of a defensive and leadership effort out of him. But if we establish Morgan as our leader on the court, then who cares whether he's a guard or a forward, because right now most of our offense is being run through him anyway. And this is not a new phenomenon. We've seen Morgan do this throughout pretty much the entire season to date. So I just think now we're starting to recognize, well, maybe it's just going to be him that's going to step up and give us leadership we need on the court and be the consistent player who's going to produce for us every single game at a very high level, which is what any competitive team that's going to be relevant in the tournament is going to need to have in their camp.
Yeah, and when we look at the first half of action, the first 10 minutes, I think IU had the game played at the pace they wanted to play. But the problem was, I think it's a 10-9 game after 9 or 10 minutes. And then Notre Dame went small. They quickened the pace, and they pulled away. And, I mean, at the end of the first half, I don't think enough can be said about the IU run. They go on an 11-3 run to cut the lead to 31-25. The big moment there is, I think, Colin Hartman with like 25, 30 seconds left in the first half hits a three. So the thing that impressed me there was they were able to overcome a bad 8 minutes and throw up a run. When we played them, saw them play teams like Seton Hall and stuff, I mean, when stuff started to go bad, it just kind of stayed bad. The same thing with Duke. They're in the game till the last 5 minutes. It goes to hell, and they're not able to regroup. And I think a lot of that is just having a guy like Morgan on the court, because, you know, if you get him the ball, there's better than a 50-50 shot. You're going to get some points out of it. And the other thing that impressed me both halves was the way they dominated the boards.
I agree entirely. I mean, we dominated the boards, and I thought we made good blockouts. Rebounds total were what? We won the boards by nine rebounds. Out offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds both. So definitely control the boards, controls the tempo of the game. What we're seeing happening now is this talent level starting to emerge a little bit. And a couple things I like here. I like the maturity that's being developed into this ball club. You're right. We won a game today that against Seton Hall and against Duke. We probably were close to being in the very same position. We just didn't have the maturity to grind it out and stay with it that we do now. So I think that's a real good sign. Secondly, what I really like is we're seeing Coach Miller now widen his bench a little bit and start giving more minutes to players like a Mick Roberts. And he's starting to see that more in practice by spending more time and giving them a little bit of game situation. And right now, I mean, Mick Roberts is buying himself playing time right now. A significant amount of playing time if he's playing like that. And it's not the first game where rebound-wise he's come in and made key rebounds for us. So by giving kids opportunities, so maybe if we're not going to see Newkirk and Johnson step up to do the things they need to do, you're going to start giving some other kids some minutes. And kids like that are going to start buying playing time on the court. And, boy, that's what you want. Because certainly Mick Roberts was a key integral part of what made Indiana victorious today.
Yeah, and I think another play of the game, which it seemed like all the plays of the game were Mick Roberts, even though all the points were scored by Morgan, and Morgan was the player of the game. But the other play that stood out to me is in the second half, we come out, the teams are kind of trading baskets. Then Notre Dame quickens the pace. They go on a 10-1 run, makes it 44-34. And then at 49-42, I think Johnson had a bad turnover. Notre Dame takes the ball down the court. It looks like they're going to get an easy basket. Roberts comes in, blocks the shot. It turns in to being a Johnson three to cut the score to 49-45. And from there, the game was within 9 points the rest of the time. And then, of course, you get to the end of the second half, and you get the foul on Colin Hartman, which I think is debatable. I think it was a foul. But you come up with Torres, who is 0 for 2 for his career free throws, comes up and misses both free throws.
And misses them badly, unfortunately for him. I know that's a very tough position for a kid that doesn't get to play a lot to come into with a game with that kind of atmosphere and that much on the line. But back to Mick Roberts. What Mick Roberts is showing people that probably Newkirk and Johnson really need to learn, you don't have to make contributions just by scoring points. Here's a kid who came in and scored 1 point in a game, but I think you're going to hear as much verbiage talk tomorrow in the papers and by us today and every other radio program that's going on or television program about the contributions Mick Roberts made as they will Juwan made. I think if you look at anybody that says who carried us, who won this game for us, the names that are going to come up most frequently are going to be Morgan and McRoberts. And that's something I hope that Johnson and Newkirk take a look at and say, there are other ways. This is the point I was trying to make throughout this stretch run as we get to this point. There are other ways to make significant contributions that lead to victories than just putting the ball in the bucket. Basically, most anybody that's playing basketball at that level is a good shooter and can score. Most all kids that are playing for IU were the leading scorer on their team when they came into the college basketball ranks. So, but to take an example of what a kid like McRoberts does is find other ways to make contributions to bring victories to the program. And then that's what I'm talking about, leaving your legacy into the IU basketball program now. And we've seen that countless times. You mentioned Isle, you mentioned Jimmy Thomas. I mean, you can go down the list of all the years of players, not just the Knight era, but the Crean era. Everybody has stepped up. You know, Tom Coverdale makes plays. You go down the list. I mean, names start popping in your mind of guys that have done things like that. Todd Leary. You can go on and on and on about kids like McRoberts now who've done that. So hopefully that's a lesson that everybody can take a look at and say, look, guys, we get this together. And as I said it last program, I'll say it again. A great team is always better than a team of great players. And I think we saw that today, and I think that's why Indiana pulled it out. They were gritty. They were gutty. I think that coach probably had one of his best coaching jobs that we've seen. And, of course, it's always easy to say that when you win. But I just think they clicked, and they started to put something together. Now, let's talk about what this means going forward. We have a stretch now where we talked about this last time too, 3 pretty, which should be, I don't want to use the word cakewalk, but cakewalk games. But now we have an opportunity now with some good momentum, with some good attitude, and Coach Miller can take these now as kind of a tweaking and dialing in type segment rather than we got to get everybody's head screwed on straight to go into the Big Ten. I think this game screwed everybody's head on pretty good. It tells them we can play with anybody. If you take a back look at it, we played with Seton Hall, we played with Louisville, we played with Duke, we beat Notre Dame. And we've played 4 ranked teams now, and we've not been blown out by any one of those 4 teams. Okay? But this win, what it does to the psyche of this basketball club, and now they have these 3 games now where they can really differently adjust to what they want to try and get accomplished in these games. They can play with their lineup a little bit. They can play with their roster. You talked last time about maybe sitting in Newkirk or sitting in Johnson. Let them see what it's like not to be the starting guard or the starting player. Maybe it'll light a fire under their tail. And you got that luxury of doing that now because you're going into the Big Ten with just a lot more confidence than you were had we lost this game. You're still struggling, you're still rattling, still trying to find the right mix. This went a long way to helping them accomplish that. So we get these 3 games out, we dial things in. It is a slippery slope. You can play badly, and you can mess things up a little bit too. But I don't think this team's going to do that now. I think this team's continuing to show progress, and I never wanted to be a doggy downer on this basketball team, but there was just 3 glaring things that weren't happening: the communication, the defensive ball positioning, and the leadership. And we saw the defense come to fruition. I didn't really hear much communication, but it's a loud building. That still has to get better. But we still, and maybe we found the leadership emerge in Juwan Morgan today. So we're making progress. And again, we want to build toward that relevance. We want to get ourselves in a position to where the selection committee has to look at Indiana as a legitimate entry into this tournament now. That should be their goal for the rest of the year now.
Yeah, because now if you end up at 18 or 19 wins and you've been 500 in the Big Ten and you've got a win over a Notre Dame team that's probably still going to be at worst in the top 20, that should get you in. Real quick, Steve, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about the Fort Wayne Mastodon, which I know you've been really excited to do. So we'll do a brief rundown on Fort Wayne for the game Monday night, right after this word from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex Golden. I am the host of the Courtroom Podcast, an NBA debate show here at The Grueling Truth. And I'm here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money. The Grueling Truth has partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out mybookie.ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on mybookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and mybookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on first deposit for up to $3,000 in extra playing money. Just enter promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Visit mybookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy winning today. mybookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, guys, we're back on the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show after the Indiana 80-77 upset victory over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Steve, next up, there's the Fort Wayne Mastodons. And after what happened last year, I don't see how this team could take Fort Wayne lightly myself.
No, well, I think they shouldn't take them lightly. I think Indiana last year was a better basketball team, and we did. But I don't know whether taking it lightly is the right phraseology here. Well, here's what I would want to see happen. I want to see retribution. I think this is a program now that needs to just come out and blow somebody out of the freaking building. And they need to play like they play and get out with a 40-point win or a 30-point win and just let everybody know that the last time we played Fort Wayne was a gross anomaly and is not ever going to happen again in the near future. So I don't – taking Fort Wayne lightly or not is not really relevant here because Fort Wayne is not in the same class of basketball team or program that Indiana is. They don't have the talent. I don't think they have the coaching. I don't think they play the caliber of teams that we play. But what I think Indiana needs to take this game to do is make a statement with this game now. Make a statement that we will pay you back if you pull some stunt like this on us again. And this gets a little bit of meanness in the program. I mean, pour it on them. Let them know there's a price to pay for embarrassing Indiana.
Yeah,
and that's the mentality I would have in my mind. Like, somebody's going to pay for what happened, last year. Somebody's going down. Somebody's going to be laying on the ground and maybe bleeding a little bit.
All right. Fort Wayne this year so far has played some fairly good teams. They are 7-5 right now. They beat Stetson today, 88-84. They played Kentucky at Rupp, lost to them 86-67. They played a really good East Tennessee State team at East Tennessee State. Beat them lost to them 83-73. A good Oakland team at Oakland, 85-71. All three of those places, even at East Tennessee State and at Oakland are tough places to win. You can ask Michigan State. They had trouble with Oakland today.
Mike, let me. I don't care. I got an axe to grind with Fort Wayne. I got paybacks to give you. I don't care what you've done, who you played. If I'm a player and the kind of player I was at Indiana, I've got a personal axe to grind with you guys, and I got some ass whooping to do. So I don't care.
Well, the other thing that worries
my
me,
mentality.
The thing that worries me though, Steve, is Fort Wayne's guards are really good. They got a guy by the name of Divine Miles who dropped 25 today. They got B.J. Glassford who dropped 11, both averaged double figures. They got a guy off the bench that scores like 14 a game that I can't pronounce these names, so I'm not even going to try. But to me, this is where, if this game's going to be a blowout, I think Johnson and Newkirk are going to be the guys that need to do this. And Newkirk has played horrible the last couple games. He fouled out today in just 9 minutes. So I think this is an opportunity for these guys to go out and do something. And as we talked before, I think this game was make or break today. Because if you go with a losing record into the Big Ten, you get the 3 easy games, but I don't think they would have the confidence that they have now. I think now they got a chance to do something.
I agree. And let me just get back and put a closure on the Fort Wayne game. The Fort Wayne game is not about anything except Indiana. It's what kind of reputation does Indiana want to put itself into? Do you come in and you beat Indiana and embarrass them? are you going to they're going to roll over and let them play us again? Or are they going to come out? This game, I don't care. You can tell me all you want about Fort Wayne. My mindset as a player is this game's about us. And you're right. It's about Johnson and Newkirk waking up and having to live through that bus ride back from Fort Wayne last year and had to read the papers the next day and everything that came with that game, had to listen to that crap from all the way until next week when they play them. This game's about Indiana. For all the reasons you just said, they need to carry that now. They got a chance to build some meanness in themselves. Like, we're going to pay you back. We're going to get back at you. We're going to continue to build. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to send a message out to other teams. We are for real. This Notre Dame game was not a fluke, that we played them that tough. So this game, the next 40 minutes of basketball is all about Indiana. It's not about who their opponent is at this point in time. It's about Indiana basketball right now. And they can really make or break the season, as you said, not make or break it, but they can really define a direction in which they're going to go. Are they going to go back into this path of we're just trying to scrap for wins? Are they going to get into this? We got to start respecting Indiana because they are for real.
Yeah.
We had Indiana maybe as a Minnesota says we looked at Indiana as a definite win. Now we're going to have to beat this team now, and other teams start paying a little bit more attention to us, and that's what we want. If you pay attention to your opponent, you're not paying enough attention to your own game, and that's the one thing that Knight was a master of. Knight, we focused on Indiana. We had our own goals we wanted to achieve, but we did everything Knight wanted us to do. Didn't matter who we were going to play, we were going to win that ball game, and that's the mindset Indiana's got to get. And I'm sure Coach Miller is working toward that mindset with his basketball club.
Yeah,
it's still a young club. It still has a lot to prove, but this is a really defining fork in the road kind of game for Indiana with Fort Wayne. They have all the reasons to blow this team out.
Yeah, and it's what they call in the NFL a trap game. You're coming off a great performance. It's hard to get up like that again. And if you look at their next three games, the teams get progressively worse out of those three because Tennessee Tech is average at best. Youngstown State is pretty bad. I think Butler beat them by like 30 or 40 points a couple weeks ago. So I think the Fort Wayne game is a good gauge. If they can come out and hammer them, Fort Wayne's not a bad basketball team. And if you can take care of them the way a top 20 team is supposed to, then you've got something. And with Johnson and Newkirk, with these three games, it gives them a chance, especially for Newkirk, to maybe find a little bit more rhythm to his game again.
Yeah, well, it's all there. I mean, and if you need to be motivated to beat Fort Wayne after last year, then you got problems. You're not an Indiana basketball player. If you need to sit there and somebody motivate you to want to destroy this team, you don't get what it means to be an Indiana basketball player. I'm angry.
And when you're playing another team from Indiana, if you're Indiana or a Notre Dame or Purdue, they're going to come at you. Look what Ball State did to Notre Dame a week and a half ago. I mean, Ball State goes to the Joyce Center and beats the Irish.
Yeah. No, I expect Indiana to just dismantle Fort Wayne for all the right reasons. I'm overstating them now, so we'll see. We'll see what the moxie of this basketball team is in terms of it's a game they're going to win. I don't think they're going to lose to Fort Wayne. I don't think that's even a question that they're not going to win this game. I want to see how they win this game. That's a bigger question to me than are they going to win. They're going to beat Fort Wayne. Okay? I want to see how they beat Fort Wayne. Yeah. They beat them with a vengeance, or they beat them hoping they can get by this and not be embarrassed again. That's what I'm going to be looking for when they step on the court against Fort Wayne. How are you going to beat these guys? Not are you going to beat them? So I don't think Miller's going to let that happen come hell or high water. I think he'll go to the 11th, 12th, 13th minute. If he doesn't get the start, if Johnson and Newkirk aren't delivering on this game, after what happened last year, I think Johnson and Newkirk will sit.
Yeah.
I hope he does. Because he's got the luxury of doing it against this team. But it's not a question of are they going to win. It's a question of how are they going to beat this team. And it better be badly, and it better be with vengeance, with forcefulness, with a statement.
All right, Steve.
So,
we're going to go ahead and wrap it up after a big win. It's our first show after a big win. It was a hell of a lot better than us talking about the same stuff over and over again, wasn't it?
Definitely. And just before we go, this is a really good opportunity now. We get these 3 games under our belt. We develop some a little bit. Then we get into the Big Ten. And then I think we're going to have some real fun now and really see what this team can do on a consistency level, because you got to be consistent to place yourself in the Big Ten to get an opportunity to play in the dance or to have an opportunity to win the Big Ten outright. Aside from Michigan State and Minnesota, I would say the Big Ten is pretty much just a wide open crapshoot at this point in time.
I would throw Purdue in with those two right now.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say you have to watch Purdue play, but Purdue is Purdue. They seem to find ways to give away games in the tournament.
Yeah, no matter how good they are, they're going to lose in the second round of the NCAA tournament anyway.
It just seems that way. I mean, and I like Purdue. I like Coach Painter. I like the program they run, but they just find ways successfully to get themselves out of that thing after the first weekend. And I wish it didn't happen. But, yeah, still you got to look at Purdue, Minnesota, and Michigan State. And then the rest of them are all right there together for the most part. And Indiana certainly is in that pack of people that can, with good, steady play and continued growth, can really establish themselves this year and not us continuing to talk about, well, let's wait till next year. Let's wait till next year. I mean, everything we're doing right now is helping our recruiting for next year. And, we've talked about that periodically, and we haven't talked a lot about recruiting. But this win, and you build on this, you start making an impact in the Big Ten, and you start being a mean-spirited basketball team, and kids are going to want to come play here. I mean, the reason I came to Indiana was because I was a physical player, and I wanted to beat the crap out of people. I mean, I just wanted to play hard physical basketball. And Indiana just appealed to me in that sense. I still think there are a lot of kids out there that want to do that and that want to win with statement wins. So let's take this. It's a great opportunity. It's a great game. Morgan established himself. We got some role players that establish themselves now as contributors you're going to be able to count on and rely on to play. And we have some good opportunities here in the next 3 games now to look at things from a different perspective than if we'd lost to Notre Dame, and get our mindset really solid and really hungry to advance into the Big Ten. So let's see. Let's watch this. I'm sure we'll do a live show after the Fort Wayne game.
Yeah, we can if you want.
I predict Indiana by 30.
All right. I predict Indiana by 1 then, because that means I'm right? It's like the old Price is Right. You guess a high number, I'll guess a low number.
Okay, Bob Barker.
No,
right.
but I think IU will take care of the game rather easily too. Also, if you guys have any questions for Steve or myself, you can go to Grueling Hoops, at Grueling Hoops, on Twitter. You can also check out srisley34 or at Grueling Truth. So we're going to wrap this show up, Steve, and we will be back Monday night, probably somewhere around 10 to 10:30 Eastern, to talk about Indiana beating the hell out of Fort Wayne. So, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.